Hi guys, welcome to SpeakuP Monday. Here we are again at Tropical Nomad. We have an amazing art exhibition around us, which I wish I could show you all of it, but I can't. But it's fascinating. And this painting over here, I think, is amazing. Denise Renault and two of her friends are involved, so really, really cool. But I digress. Welcome to SpeakuP Monday. Every Monday here at Tropical Nomad at 7 p.m. Come earlier when you can. Join us in the audience, which I'm sure are going to be joining us as we go on. So today we've got Brian Swan. Welcome, Brian, to the show.
Thank you very much. So pumped to start my 2021 on this couch with you. Thank you for having me.
We're on the couch, baby. Yeah. So look, just for you at home, so this is Destination Indonesia. So SpeakuP Monday, Destination Indonesia Series. Now, why is that? Because it's about the people of Indonesia, the people of Bali, but also people like us, expats who maybe are not born in Bali, that's why we're expats, but we love Bali and we call it home for whichever period of time we decide to call it home. So this show is about that. It's about people, inspired people, and of course we're in Bali, so Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which is basically unity in diversity. Right, these are the two things which underpin the show, and that's why we're here. So let's get started. So Brian, now how long ago did we meet? It's been 4 years or something?
It's been about 4 years. I've actually, my wife and I and my daughter Hanale, who've also been on the show. I'm the last one of the family. So ladies first, but you're saving the best for last. I appreciate that, Robert. I'm glad they're not here quite yet. But yeah, we got here about 5.5 years ago. And first time I came to Bali was back in 1995.
Yeah, all right, 995 now. Okay, so the one question, which usually, you know, we let the guests warm up a little bit, but mate, I know you, so there's no warm up here.
All right.
So look, like, what I love about you is that you're a guy who, you know, again, you had an incredible background, right, robotics engineer,
right,
and then, you know, for the past decade or so, you've been living your dream life, right? You've been, you know, like, you love surfing, you become a semi-pro surfer, right. You've got this beautiful, pensive way about you. Like when I look at you, I always think that inside that head, that beautiful mind of yours, like there's advanced calculus going on, right? Theorizing and like bringing sense to everything, right? So the question that just came to me earlier on was like, look, so you've been around, right? Mm-hmm. And you've been living your dream life. You have an amazing family. Now, and you're a deep thinker. So if I would say to you, you know, like, what are the main challenges which is facing humanity right now?
I thought you said this was going to be an easy one to warm up with.
That's right. The opposite. But I'd love to know, because I know you're a guy who thinks. Right, so I'd love you just to like share with us, you know, what you think are some of the biggest challenges which are facing humanity right now.
Well, you know what, it's like, thank you first of all, Robert, for having me on your show, and his introduction, I don't know how I could deserve that, but thank you, and thank you for everybody that came here to listen. So, yes, first of all, I was a robotics engineer for nearly 10 years in the corporate world, sold the actuator to Elon Musk, was one of these nerdy guys. But what's the diversity of what's happening today, back when my wife retired me from my corporate job, which was back in 2006, we were buying all these homes, golf course development deal. We went from millionaire status to losing everything back in the 07-08 financial crisis. And I think it's losing everything, like literally losing everything, gives you like your worst, the worst things in your life are your biggest assets. And I think it prepared us to what's happening in the world right now. And what's happening in the world right now, this is a big chess game. And I don't know how far down the rabbit hole we want to go, but when there was the lockdowns and this coronavirus thing was happening, I was like, let's get back to Bali and we're going to hunker down. And while there was this massed fear of, are you going back to the United States? Are you doing this? I just looked at my wife and we said, absolutely not. we're staking our, claim right here. And right now it's making these hard decisions of what's fed to you through the media. And a lot of what's fed through the media, I stopped watching the news 15 years ago. I just started watching the news when the coronavirus, like in March, just to see what kind of chess game they're playing. And navigating it, I think losing everything back in 07, 08 is preparing ourselves of where our home is, the people that we're aligning ourselves with, and really like claiming Bali as our home. And a lot of people are scared, but it's like really making decisions for yourself versus what is being, fed to you. That's like one of the biggest things. And people are right now, it's a crazy thing that's happening out there, and it's way beyond a virus. There's so many different levels that's happening right now.
And so, what I love about your story is the fact that, that you have experienced pretty much all, right? So you've experienced the highest of highs and probably the lowest of lows, right? Yeah. And this has probably been well documented already, but and we'll get onto the perfect day in a second, but, out of all the challenges that you were faced with, which challenges come up as being the hardest for you personally, and how did you overcome them? Whatever comes into your mind first.
Well, I think making the transition, it's a good question, making the transition from the corporate world into being an entrepreneur. Luckily, my wife's the one who actually took that step to where it was easier for me. But it's a whole different ballgame when you're working for somebody and going to a 9 to 5, doing the just amount of work to where you don't get fired, to where now you're making decisions not only for your family, but now we have a team of probably about 30 to 40 people that are relying on you. The biggest things are making the decisions for your family, but then also like now you're feeding mouths, and like those are the biggest, hardest things of where you're going. And our business model was live events, and we had all of our events to where we were having events here in Bali, having events overseas, and it just changed like that. And then how do you adapt? And those, that's the biggest things. It's easy to work for somebody, but now we're running multiple businesses, making decisions for us ourselves, but also our team members.
Got it. And what was that? What's that? If I ask you, if there's a driving spirit or driving force within you, because some people may be watching us now, saying, I've read your background, I've read your bio, and you've got the classic kind of riches to rags to riches story. That's great, but I don't relate. I can't connect, right? So what comes up if I say to you, how could other people connect with your story? What do you think comes up?
How you could connect? I think one of the biggest things is just putting yourself out there, because putting ourselves out there is so hard, to where you're like, if I fail, what are people going to say? And I'll share this. This is a story from when we lost everything, right? We realized we sank, all of our money into different homes, a big golf course development, and we were loud, boisterous, and we had the cars, the house up on the hill in La Jolla of San Diego. And when you lose everything, everybody's kind of like pointing at you, and you're like, you put your tail through your legs, and everyone kept on saying, you can go back and get your corporate job. It's going to be all right. Go do that. And it came back to when I was 16 years old, my father died of AIDS. And for 5 years before he died, he took our kids, myself, my brother and sister, traveling all around the world so we could see the world with our own eyes versus a textbook. My daughter's 1 year old. She's sitting back here. She's 13. She had a 6-figure fashion brand by the age of 11. But at 1 year old, when people said, go back and do this, everyone said it. We said, we're going to go take a trip around the world. And they thought we were absolutely nuts. And we had people saying, you're selfish, your kid is never going to have a family, friends, and how could you just do this? You're horrible people. I mean, that's what it was at. And what came to us, it was like, you know what? We're never guaranteed another day. And you had to go with your heart. And we made decisions back then by going with our heart, but making course corrections. And, kind of like we're doing that all the time. But you got to put yourself out there first and foremost, and, get ready to get kicked in the guts, and, ridicule. And now the same people that thought we were freaks, they're like, how did you see it over all these years? Because now I think now we're just sitting back going, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I'm not even sure if I answered your question.
No, but it's not. The interesting part is that it's not even about answering a question. It's about what it triggers within you, because what we have here is a collective unconscious that's becoming conscious, right? So wherever we go is where we're supposed to go. Yeah. So it's really about what it triggers within you, not necessarily answering the question, but you did both, so it's fine.
Thank you, Suksama.
So look, so there's a few things I want to pick up upon, right? Yeah. So one that you've been documented as believing, right, is that some of our hardest lessons really are the thing that can set us free. And you mentioned your dad, right, and him contracting AIDS, and then having this 5-year time with him, which is basically, look, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. No. Let's get out there now and do it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so a question that comes up in my mind, right, is what kind of person was your dad? And before you answer the question, so what I'd love to know is, your dad's dad, your grandfather and grandmother, what kind of people were they for your dad to grow up in the way that he did and think that the way that he did?
You're laying it on heavy here.
Laying it on, baby.
What's my dad's dad, he was he had Swan and Bonson, which is essentially all the Walmarts, Kmarts. He had the first, mega store, and we just didn't franchise it. So he was a powerful businessman. He had a vision he bought up a whole city block about 3 hours west of Chicago, and knocked down all the walls of all these buildings: clothing store, pharmacy, toy store, restaurant. It was the first mega store. People used to come all the way from Chicago to come to this small rinky-dink town. So he was a powerful businessman, and then my father took it over. But what's crazy is that my father, married my mom, and then in this small town back in the 1980s. He never really came out that he was gay, but everyone knew, and it was a really difficult thing. It was a difficult way of him navigating as who am I as a person. But the one thing that I really loved about my father, and when he was on his deathbed, and I wish I could ask him this question. Like I knew he was going to die, and I almost knew it was going to happen that night. And I'm sitting there and I put my hand on my dad. He can't talk. And I said, Dad, don't worry. I said, I'm going to university. I'm going to get a good education. And he just, I could see him what the fuck are you doing? You're going to go, we're entrepreneurs. And if he had the strength and energy, he'd be like, no, do that. Don't go into the system. And I swear I saw that, I'm like, man, he doesn't seem too proud about that thing. And I don't know, maybe it was just but I question myself. My grandfather was this unbelievable entrepreneur. My dad, if he was in the internet age, he would crush it. He would absolutely crush it. I wish he could have saw him. Man, this guy would have went to town. He would This is how clever he was. We lived in Illinois. He wanted to be with his family, but he was a gay man, and he goes, I want to be in Florida. And so he had a business of moving furniture from Illinois to Florida so he could fund the trips. And I was the mover guy, and I would be moving. My brother and sister, you want to go on a trip? We got to start moving boxes and stuff. And that's just how it was. He was so clever and I think this is one of the. We call ourselves Rhonda and Hanalei. We're like the cockroaches. You can't stop us, right? That's why we became the Unstoppable Family, Unstoppable Mom, Unstoppable Surfer. Now I have Unstoppable Beard product. We're just unstoppable, and it's a blessing and a curse. But what he taught was really man, you can figure out. It's how resourceful are you to really get the things that you want. You know, there's a million different ways. And if he would solve the internet, he'd be like, man, this is easy. So now, like, now it's easy. It's difficult, but it's like, what do you really want? And there's so many different ways to do it.
You know, like, so I'm following some breadcrumbs, right? And, you know, like, so quite often in our family, things are passed on, passed down, passed across that consciousness wall or divide or DNA or whatever you want to refer to it as, right?
Yeah.
And so if I asked you, you know, what is the connection between your grandfather, your dad, and you, what would you say that it would be?
Wow, you're going deep tonight. You know, I didn't get to know my grandfather too well. He passed away when I was young. But there's a path that's just going for the things that you really want. And I already said that. But what is the lineage of it? You know, it's like we all are hit with, you know, challenges. And, you know, my father growing up in a small town having a business and he's gay, like, that was a huge challenge. But, you know, he kind of went with where his heart was. Like us, I guess, just, we go for it. We don't care. I mean, we care, and we care about the people, and we care about, you know, we care about a lot of things, but it's like we don't allow people to, like, say you can't do it. And my grandfather, he was the first to do a mega store. I'm sure at the time they're like, you're doing what? You're buying a whole city block? Now, like, now we're like, yeah, of course. You know, it sounds, but could you imagine what's happening with my grandfather when he's like, I'm doing this? They're like, you crazy. So what I think is that we're all freaking crazy. But that crazy is like, that's the only way I could live.
You know, thank you. Because, you know, so one of the things which I'm picking up, right, from a conversation that we started earlier on, is this thing about, you know, not caring what other people think being one of the ingredients for success, right? Because if we stay within our framework of the people that want to hold us there, not for bad reasons, but they just don't want us to change. Yeah. It's difficult for us to break out, break through, be a pioneer, right? And your dad, as you mentioned, so he was, you know, he was gay and he didn't come out for a long time.
I don't think he ever. Well, he didn't really come out. There wasn't even really a window. It just, he kind of was. It was. Yeah,
you know. So what I feel with you is that you've come out, not out of being gay, but you've come out, right?
22 years. Yeah.
There you go, right? Yeah, you know, she's sitting right there. So like, how did you do that? Because, you know, like you said, your dad was X, and he was unable, right, to come out and say, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Possibly this is one of the things that contributed to his situation. Who knows? But, you know, like, if you had an opportunity to go back and to lend some wisdom to your dad, which at the same time is lending wisdom to people watching now, because people are here trying to overcome themselves to get in that region of success, but they hold themselves back, as your father may have done in certain areas. Yeah. So, like, what would you say to him? What would you have said to him?
Like, before he actually did some things, I've had this discussion with my wife just recently, and one of the biggest things was, and this is just a weird thing, it's like your consequences are going to bring, you know, like what you do are going to bring in some consequences. And it wasn't that he was gay, but like he actually brought some young boy toys, like young kids, like up into our town. And my brother, I was young, my brother and sister, they went to drugs. My brother went to rehab at 16. And he was living himself, but he also lived, and I think he made some dumb choices on, like, he could have just stayed in Florida, and he could have, like, but man, I wish I could have advised him, like, don't do this, you know. And that's, like, it really changed our whole trajectory as a family. For me, I turned that negative of my brother and sister going to druggies, him going to a drug rehab at like 15 or 16 years old, I took that and said, I'm not going to be them. So I took that one situation that was so horrible to when I was starting out in high school. I just sat there, and I remember it was Mr. Stahl's class, and I'm looking, it was the first day of class, and I said, I'm going to be the best athlete, I'm going to be the smartest kid in my class. And it just took, I took that into, this is who I am. And I was like the best athlete and number 2 in the class when I graduated. But it's like taking that fuel in the fire. I think a lot of things, when we don't do anything great until we're just like, it's like that rage is built up to where you're like, no fucking more, right? And that's what I did, at least, to get me through high school, go through college, and and some things then, like actually navigating now, there's things where I've had to let that old thing go, let go of my ego. And we've been working on ourselves, my wife and I, real deeply, and my daughter, so sometimes you got to let old things go to really create this new person who you are. And that's what's happening right now. Like with I'd say after 22 years, my wife, my daughter, and I, we're probably the closest we've been, in the last 6 months. And it's really doing that deeper work and shedding things that weren't working to where you're creating, like sometimes shooting yourself. And I'm not saying shooting yourself, but killing yourself to actually be this new person.
And thank you, Brother Brian.
Yeah.
And so this is the last question on this, and we'll move on. Why you? Because you said, right, you wait until that point where you're so furious and angry and driven, I'm going to fucking do this, right? So why you? Because there are people around you, right, who didn't do that, who weren't able to do that. So why you? Why do you think that is?
And I always love this, why not me?
Yeah.
And when we're going through lawyers' lawsuits, losing everything from, millions to balancing a $5 burrito, you get a non-sufficient fund when you don't have any money in the bank, and you're just kind of like, you ask that question, why me? Well, it's those lowest levels and those lowest points of your life that it's like, no, this is what's needed right now in order for you to get to the next chapter, because you weren't ready, Brian. You weren't ready. We're going to do this to make sure you're ready, because otherwise you can go back at your corporate job and take that red pill or blue pill, I forgot which one it is, like in the Matrix, and you're just going to be and it's going to be all right. But it's the challenges in life, and when you are at your lowest, you're like, how do I turn this into a freaking one of your greatest success stories? So why not me?
I love this way of being, right? And I think it's so powerful and so important, because if people, SpeakuP Monday started on Monday, it was because, very simply, this is a time when most people commit suicide, right? It's true. So the idea is that if we can drop a pebble in the ocean of consciousness, and that pebble can have the ripples that affect the whole, and those ripples are positive ripples. Those ripples are ripples of acceptance, of understanding, because most of the time, the people that I've been dealing with over the years as a coach and a speaker and all the rest of that, have been that they've failed to recognize who they are, in the sense that they failed to accept what's happening. And it's like, I shouldn't be here, I should be there, and not reconciling the fact that I'm here right now. Yeah. I'm not going to stay here forever, but I'm here right now, so let me just deal with that, and then move forward. So what I love about your story, and all of you, Rhonda, Hanalei, you, is that there's an essence of that in there, the essence of why not me. Yeah. Right? Beautiful, right? And this is something which I think is really important for people to hear and to acknowledge and to understand, and hear it from you right now. So thank you for that, my brother.
And I received that. Thank you.
Welcome, man. Welcome. So your mum is coming up now, right? So and then we move on to other stuff after that. Yeah. So your mum. So what did you learn from your mum? What did you take on from your mum, if anything?
You got to be tough. As a woman, in a small 2,000 town, Midwest, to be thrown at you're divorced because your husband's gay. I can't even imagine what my mom went through. Really, how you'd have to feel and be feel ashamed. My mom passed away 2 years ago of cancer. So I would love to ask her that, but man, it had to have been tough for her. And I think if anything, it's like being tough, and she wasn't an entrepreneur. She was an employee mindset. So what I got from my father was like, man, you can do anything. Whereas my mom was just kind of like slow and steady. But I didn't gel on that level. I wasn't, but she was always there for us. And one thing that she always did, she showed up for all of my football games, my basketball games. She was there no matter what. And one of the things that Rhonda, Hanalei, our family, is we show up for people. And we show up for events like this, And it's showing up when you don't want to. Because there's so many times it's like, oh, I got this going on, or I got this. Now you show up for people, for them to show up for you. And if you don't show up for people, screw you. Why would anybody want to show up for you? My friend right here, Jabril, man, he's showing up all around the world. Yeah. And it means a lot. It really means a lot. And it was interesting. It's like, I'd even invite him here. Even though he's here, I've seen him for the first time. But he goes, I'll be there. And it's like, yeah, thank you.
What comes up, and so by the way, every SpeakuP Monday is different. We follow the energy of whatever the collective consciousness is created, right? So I'm getting drawn to ask you this, but my conscious mind is saying don't ask him that. Yeah. Move on to something lighter. Don't ask him that. But then the other way say, Rob, you know what you got to do. Got to ask him that question. Come on, man. Stop messing around. Ask him a damn question. So I'm like, okay, listen to it. So I got one on his shoulder, right? If you can see him, you let me know. It just flicks up. Get off my shoulder, damn you. All right, there you go. So both of your parents, right? Yeah. So they died from one, AIDS, the other cancer. So if you believe in that we're energetic beings, right, and we're not this body, and we're so much more. We're unity in diversity, right? So why do you think that they went that way? Because and I don't mean to lead you too much, which means I'm going to lead you too much. Yeah. If we allow the energy to flow within us, there's that understanding that when the energy is flowing, there's no blockages on all levels, right? So therefore, a disease like that isn't going to take hold. So if we take that contention forward, why do you think your mum and dad went the way they did? And what would you or could you have said to them prior?
Man, I'm thinking back on before my father was passing. Man, I'm not even sure really where to go. What I could have said to him. One of the things that when I was 6, when they got divorced, I was so glad they got divorced because the fighting stopped. And I was almost like, yes, divorce. And all kids are like, oh, they got divorced. And I'm like, no, it was a great thing because I got to see my mother, I got to see my father. If I could give them advice now, it's this, everything happens for a reason. And I think it's for instance, my father passing of AIDS, people always say condone, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. I'm like, no, but if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be doing this with my family. Yeah. I would have never met my wife surfing 22 years ago because I would have never had the balls to go study abroad. And just it's kind of trust the process. So if I there's nothing I could really say because they were not going to stay together. But if anything, it's I wish I could say I got this, and it's going to be all right. And everything is all right. It's crazy about my mom passing away. It's weird. Her mindset. I know my father would have did something totally different. But it was 2 years ago when my mom, she says, I got diagnosed with cancer. And I'm like, all right. I go, so what are you going to do? And she was so old to where she was weak. And she goes, I'm going to do what my doctor says. And I looked at her. And I said, you're too weak. I go, don't do chemotherapy. And she said, if my doctor says to do that, I'll do it. I'm like, he's a salesman. And they got offended. I didn't even really talk to him afterwards. They put the thing down her throat. 1 month later, it just went pew. And you know what? The insurance companies got the money. They're going to put people, it's like right now with the vaccines and shit, it's like, do this. It's not, we can't guarantee anything. Oh, also, you're going to be doing it for 1, 2, 3, 5 years just to make sure. It's like, are you kidding me? You got to use your own brain right now. This is way bigger than, a coronavirus. It's for us to really make decisions for ourselves and not just listen to what's going on. I wish my mom, I wish she would just went to hospice. She would have lasted a while. My father would have never did it. He didn't even drink, right? But he took us out on a cruise, and 2 weeks before he died, we're having margaritas. I'm 16, I'm loving it. But he was doing it until like the day he died. He was living that bucket list. So they're two different people, two different. And if my father had been around, we would have been hanging all the way until the end of it. Yeah.
Again, another thing which I love about your story, unstoppable family, right? And obviously, I know all of you, and I love all of you dearly. And it's and I love there's so many things that have happened in the past, and I love the way that you parent. Hanalei, not that she needs to be parented anymore. But I just love it, right? So maybe if you can let people know, how did that whole unstoppable family start?
Well, it started with us losing, everything, as I mentioned. We decided to take a 2-year trip around the world. And our first year we came to Bali, but how did it start? What's funny is it was actually this guy Jabril who I was just mentioning. And Rhonda got back from an event. So we were in Bali, living about just very close to where we live right now. And Rhonda went back to an event, and she came back empowered, and she says, I saw this woman, Cynthia Kersey, and she had a book called Unstoppable, and it's a 30-day challenge to do something just off the charts. And she goes, we're going to do a 30-day plan, and I'm just stretching myself, and we got to have a marketer. And then Jabril's he's messaging, he goes, hey, I know how to market. And she's like, well, we'll bring him on. And it just started right there. And we said, well, we need to have a brand name. What do we do? And she's like, Unstoppable Family. We're like, yeah. And that's how it started. And I don't know if you're going deeper with Hanalei, but we didn't do the typical parenting. We took the words no, not, and don't out of our vocabulary. We're very conscious on treating her like a person, like when people, even when she was 3 or 4, people would ask, oh, what's your daughter's name? I'm like, well, why don't you just ask her? She's a person right there. What do you want? What do you want for, what does she like to eat? I don't know. Why don't you ask her? She's right there. And when kids are able to make decisions early on in life, it doesn't make it difficult. Right now, she's making her own decisions. She's making her own money, right? And it's giving that an empowerment from such an early age and being very conscious on how you actually speak to them before just saying, don't do that. No, you can't. But why? Hey, Hanalei, you're about 10 feet up. You fall down, you're going to get hurt. There's consequences. There's consequences with everything you do. So we're very conscious of not just telling her, but really having her make her own decisions. And even today, she makes her own decisions. I mean, as a collective group, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
And so let's move on to Sister Rhonda over there.
Sister Rhonda.
Sister Rhonda. She's my sister, right? So how did you guys? So obviously we know. Well, actually, leave it to you. How did you meet, and what attracted you to her?
Oh, Casanova here. All right. So I lived oceanfront, in San Diego, and my house was right in front. I'm surfing at like 6 a.m., and this hot as snot woman, just like she's 23, 24, she's going, and we're sitting there like, whoa, what the heck is that coming across? And then she goes past my house. She knocks on another door and a neighbor, and then she comes out with a dude. I'm like, she's got a boyfriend, but she paddles out, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna, hey, just paddle out, going, hey, I'm Brian, and she has other lines, but I put the moves on. Good thing she's not coming up, but I met her in the water.
Wow.
Yeah, and
so the confidence. Why did you do it, right? Because you were obviously, you were taken in, right?
Yeah.
But you strike me as a guy who also has, maybe you get embarrassed, or maybe you got nerves. Or
I thought you were going to say because I have tons of other women around. Why would I try to settle for one? Good question. No, but it's like for her it was interesting. Because all of us, like when you're in San Diego, everybody's from everywhere else in the, kind of like here in Bali, right? Everybody's from everywhere else, so you become friends with everyone just immediately. And she just kept on hanging around, and finally when I found out she didn't have a boyfriend, it was like, bam. The Swan just kicked in, and that was it. Yeah. Lights out. Bam.
Lights out. Bam. It was done. Bam. It was done. Round of applause, guys. Round of applause. Come on. Come on. Hey. Good job. Now, good job to Swan. So now moving forward, right? So I'm getting the sense, right? So I get the sense of your background. I get the sense of what your dad and your granddad and your mom, right? What they taught you. I get the sense of the kind of person you are in terms of that drive. Like you beat me down so far. The only way I got to go is up because I'm done. I'm done. I'm done playing small, right? I'm moving, right? So I've got that. So now. And I've got how you met Rhonda, that you put the Swan moves on her, right? She didn't stand a chance. She was putty in your hands, right? So now moving on to this perfect day, or the concept of it.
Yeah.
So now where did it come from, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. Well, how to create your perfect day was from an exercise when Rhonda got started in this business. It was an affiliate marketing. It was a personal development company that had a personal development course. I forgot if it was a 30 or 60-day course, and then we had events that we went to. And the first exercise was how to create your perfect day. And I remember my wife, when she got started and I was still in the corporate world, like, what are you doing? And she's making phone calls. It was just like, it seemed like, why are you doing this? But she had the vision way bigger than I did. So applause to that. But she's like, listen to this call, do these exercises. I'm like, no. But when I saw her have, when I saw her have like a $47,000 month, I'm like, holy shit, this shit works. And then she's becoming a better person. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, you can make money. This internet thing's not going anywhere. She's becoming a better person because she's working on herself. I'm like, what is this self-development stuff? And this is before the movie The Secret, right? Yeah. And, Tony Robbins, kind of you knew about a little bit, right? And I put it off for 6 months. And finally, one day I said, what do I have to fear? I was fearing that what if somebody read it or it didn't become true? What if my wife read it and I looked like an idiot? But I wrote out what this perfect day, and it's like a perfect ideal day, not like going to to Las Vegas, you got 24 hours left to live, like, woo, let's go. It's like, what would your day look like from when the morning you wake up to when you go to bed? And I wrote this out on how I wanted to wake up to the surf and smelling it, getting barreled, and living in Hanalei Bay, which is where we're married, and that's how our daughter was named, and how we'd have breakfast, and the business I would conduct, and what we'd do, and it was just like you could feel what that ideal, average, perfect day would look like. And I wrote it down. This was in 2006. I mean, my perfect day is really what I'm living at right now. And what it means to me is I was like, wow. You don't just do it, write it down, and then poof, it happens. You got to keep on doing it. You have to do it every single day. It's like you don't work out 30 days in 1 month and then take up the rest of the year off. You have to do it every single day. And you do it when you don't feel like it on a lot of things, on the exercise this. But to me, that was really the foundation of what got me like dreamscaping of what it could be like. And so Jabril and I, we actually did a video, recreated it 8 years ago, and it's, you know, transformed thousands of people's lives. So now it's like I feel like it's my responsibility. It's like not just me, how can I live this? It's my responsibility. If I don't share my voice, if I don't put myself out there, I'm doing a disservice to everyone out there, because they need somebody, right? They need to hear, and you need to do that, and you are being selfish if you don't share yourself. So that's what it means to me.
Wow, you know, and what just suddenly shot in was just like, you know, all of your lineage is proud of you, man.
Yeah.
Because because each one stood up. Each one stood up for different reasons, and you're standing up.
Dude, and I guarantee you, they were all ridiculed. Just like, and now it's like, wow, you guys are pretty smart. No, we were ridiculed. We were freaking, before anybody becomes like intelligent, you're ridiculed. You know, the greatest thought leaders on the world, they were freaking burned at the stake. They were like, you know? So you just got to kind of put yourself out there so far to where you don't give a shit. And what do you want? What do you really, really want?
Love that, man.
Yeah.
Love that. And, you know, again, this is for people at home and people here, you know, to get, I love that you're, you know, available, right? To put yourself out there in such a way that people will get and will understand and be inspired to do the same, right? That's what this is really about. Like, it's an inspirational Q&A, and you're delivering exactly that, you know, which I'm loving. So now skipping forward, so now you've managed to, you know, interesting. So now you've managed to, you know, create, you know, Unstoppable Surfer, Unstoppable Beard. You know, how did all of this come into being? Yeah.
Well, the Unstoppable Surfer, when I created that, all it was an Instagram thing. You want to do things that. that is it. So we can't deny this, right?
So for those of you watching at home, we suddenly had an air conditioner with the water dripping into a bucket.
I thought somebody went with a microphone into the toilet. It sounded like
someone just was just like doing it, you know, like someone had pulled along on the side of the road and just whipped it out and peed in a bucket, right? Peed in a bucket. But no, that's not what happened. For those of you watching now, no one peed in the bucket. It was air conditioning.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna control ourselves for a while, calm ourselves.
No, but that's a nice pattern interrupt. So
it is.
To go back, we'll bring it back. Unstoppable Surfer. All it was something that I learned this from one of our mentors of mine. Dr. John DeMartini. Ron and Hanalei got to speak with him on stage a few years ago, and it's living your highest values. Yeah. When I created that, it was like, what is something I can do every single day where you don't have to tell me to do it, that I'm going to do it no matter what? And I'm like, well, dude, I'm going to go check the surf every single day. I probably will surf. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to force me. That's something I'm going to do. So I just created that. And I created it just out of like, I'm going to do it anyway. So why not document it? And then from there, I took it to where it's like now I started Unstoppable Surfer Retreat. Now I started Unstoppable Beard. And Unstoppable Beard, you know what? Here's the thing. I was in a Forbes article that Russell Brand and some other authors, musicians, but it was like how you slay, like self-sabotage. I've been self-sabotaging myself for years, and I've used so many excuses until finally, thank God for coronavirus and this, right? To where it's like I ran out of excuses. I really just literally ran out of excuses to where it's like, well, we're traveling, we're doing this. And like my 13-year-old is sitting there with Rhonda, and she's like, Dad, when are you ever going to do that beard company thing? And like I had no excuses, where I'm like, we can't leave. We have nothing else to do. Like our live events is done, to where I'm just like, yeah, if I don't do this shit, I am a bullshitter and a half. To finally starting a beard company. But at the same time, it's like, I got a beard. You don't have to force me to talk like beard surf stuff, because I'm going to do it. So I'm like, also I wanted to learn e-commerce. And I find it interesting. I'm like going, well, e-commerce is not going anywhere with coronavirus. It's like, so it also plays back into our PR agency, our branding agency. So it's just like another piece of the puzzle of what our businesses are. I'm like going, this is a perfect fit. And it was like, all right, stop bullshitting and just start doing. And that's how Unstoppable Beard got created. And now the great thing is I get to make funny videos and dress up in weird outfits, probably like my dad used to do back in the day. And my wife and my daughter, they think it's funny. And I'm like going, shit, and I make money out of this. I'm like, this is crazy. This is fun. So that's how it was created. Basically, I ran out of excuses.
Love it. Love it. Ran out of excuses. I love it. And one of the things that keeps coming in, right, is this put it out there. Just put it out there. So that's, I think, is one of the main takeaways from tonight, is just if you're at home and you're wondering what the hell to do, or wondering what I'm about or what my mission, just put it out there. Keeps on coming over. And I love that about the story, because it's very, again, like so many people, and I take myself as well in here, right, of just, being in a position, growing up as an orphan, 18 years in the same children's home, and with 2 different children's homes, being bullied and racism and all this other stuff, and it just came to a point where I just had to begin to put it out there, and like slowly at first, playing basketball for England. Then when I was able to do that, then the whole thing opened up. Then I realized that this glass ceiling that I'd put on top of myself, that I put there, right, is something which I can also move. So I put it there, I can also take it away. And part of that is being able, to just put it out there, right? And putting yourself up also for ridicule for some people. Putting yourself out there to fail potentially, but we all know that failure isn't failure.
Right.
It is if you give up.
Exactly.
But if you learn from that, then you just keep on getting. I love mastery personally. So I'm all about mastery, right? I'm all about this thing I'm doing, I'm just going to get better at it. Right. Every day, every month, and maybe like snakes and ladders, up and down, but I will continue. And eventually I will just get better and better and better and better, which I think is a really powerful, measurable, achievable tool that people watching can take home with them, which I love. So thank you for that, brother. And I love it. It's great. So look, like, what's coming up is that, so you are right at the top of the mountain. So what I've noticed coming up now during this time of COVID is that, you've had people who've been extremely successful in what they've done. Not who they've been, but what they've done. So there's a distinction, doing and being. And now this particular situation has taken something away from them, or they feel like it has. And now we're on the other side. So now we're getting into mental health challenges, issues, perhaps a tsunami waiting to come, right? Which no one's really talking about, right?
No, but it's happening right now.
But it's happening big time, and I meet people every day, right? Now, so my question to you is that, like having been there and staying there right at the top of the mountain and been down before, so you've been up and down, what things are crucial that you would advise other people to either have, adopt, or practice to not necessarily avoid, but to get through that period of the down after the high as quickly as possible?
Well, it's this is the thing. It's like, in order for you to, you got to reap and you sow, right? And right now you got to plant the seeds. And back in March and April, you could have been planting the seeds. And then you think that, okay, I'm going to wait until this is over. Just if you could put it like, and this is my perfect day when I say, what if you knew you had an expiration date? Let me just use this example. It's what, January 11th right now? Yeah. So what, July 11th. What does July 11th mean to you guys? What does July 11th mean to you?
July 11th.
Yeah, 2021.
Ooh.
What does it mean?
Middle of the year. Just passed.
What else does it mean? Anyone?
6 months time.
Probably means nothing, right?
Yeah.
But let's just picture yourself that you get a call. I never get phone calls anymore, but just let's say you get a call, and I'm sitting there with my wife, my daughters. You're sitting there with your wife, your daughters, and then you get a call, and it's your doctor. And you're like, Robert, do you have some time to talk? Yeah. You better sit down for this. We got your results back, and you have 6 months to live. Now, what does July 11th, 2021 mean to you?
Everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's those kind of moments that stop waiting. Because if you knew without a shadow of a doubt, like just say, that's it, what would you do? Not that it's going to, but if you had to, this is what choices would you be making today? So right now, people out there, if I can give a little tidbit, it's like, what would you be doing? And now let's just say, let's even back it up to like 2 years. So you got that big. Like, what are you going to do? You got to provide for your family. You better learn something that you can make money online. Like, and I'm talking brick and mortars, how you can, have that business. So what my advice is, man, you better figure something out in that, because it's not going back to normal. And it's also enjoying the time with the people you're around and what you're doing and doing the shit like that you love. Like, it's like, I am really living my perfect day. I really am. Is it easy? Is it like, do I wake up the same way as almost everybody where you're like, oh, I just don't want to. No, it's like you get your ass up and you go do it and you make a difference. And one of the things that, it's like Ron and I last few months, we've been having meditation in the morning, and it's like when we're doing it, it's like it keeps coming up to me. It's like your voice needs to be heard. By what you're doing, people are watching. My daughter's watching. People are watching. And if you don't do it, it goes back to that you're doing a disservice, I think, to humanity, to have people. And it's not say, look at me, but it's like, no, go freaking do this right now. So if you're not doing something, if you're waiting for the president or this or the virus, then you're fucked. You have to start doing it now. And in a journey of 1,000 miles, it starts with that first step, as Lao Tzu says. But you have to start doing it and stop waiting, or stop waiting or running out of excuses like I did. You're like, finally, you have to put that line in the sand and say, I'm doing this. And I'm going to get ridiculed. And people are going to think I'm weird. And this is going to happen, but you do it anyway.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it, brother. Love it.
Cheers.
So look, so pretty soon we're going to have a microphone. So if anyone's got a question, feel free. We're going to give you a microphone pretty soon. So now, question.
Yeah.
So now you're a contributor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You give a lot to people. So if I ask you, what is it that you need? Now, this is not from the need of, I need this, I need this. It's not from a needy place. Mm-hmm. It's from a place of, because, it's giving love and receiving love.
Yeah.
Right? So now, if I asked you from that perspective, all right, so the people watching at home, they've listened to you, they get a great sense of who you are, they get a great sense of this, just put it out there, just put it out there, just put it out there, right? They get that sense,
sure.
And they've seen something for themselves, right? Now, how can they contribute to you? So from that perspective, what is it that you need?
One of the beautiful things that I get, is when you get this message just out of the blue. I've been watching you for freaking 10 years, and I finally did it. And you're like, you don't even know who this person is. And when you go do it and you freaking just send me a message, don't do an email because I got about 500,000 emails that I don't have open, but send me a WhatsApp or a direct message or something to you know what? That one talk you did at Robert's SpeakuP Monday transformed my life, and it was because of that. That's all. That's what I don't need it, because you only need food, water, and shelter, right? But man, there's nothing better than getting a message like that one thing. And that's where I find it, how many times I don't hit the puck, right? To where it's like that extra piece of content or the extra thing I could have done. Because if you would have done that one more thing, you could have changed somebody else's life. So what I want, because I don't need, but man, there's nothing that brings a bigger smile to my face than like that one video. And you think that video sucked, but you did it anyway. And you were about ready to delete it. And that's the thing that changed their life. There's so many times where I'm like going, man, that really fucking, that just sucked. That just sucked. And then somebody's like, wow, is that? I'm like, wow, you have no idea. So you got to just keep on putting yourself out there. And not everything, you're gonna suck on a lot of stuff. But if you just keep on doing it and doing it consistently, that's like, I have a thing that I check off every single day. And before I start answering things from team members and for people you work with, I was like, I have a core thing that I have to go through, because it's like putting that oxygen mask on yourself first. I don't look at notifications and things, because then I'm in their world and I'm doing the things that they need, but it's not part of what I need to freaking set myself up first. And when I set myself up first and I tick off all the boxes, then I'm like, all right, then I can start working with everybody else. But you got to take care of yourself first.
Got it. And last question from me.
Yeah.
If I ask you this question, what comes up first? Do you love yourself?
Was I supposed to answer that really quickly?
Whatever comes up.
Of course I do. And that's also another thing, that we're humans. And I wake up a lot of times, man, to where I feel anxiety and I feel like overwhelmed, and it's all the stuff that I put on myself. And beating yourself up is the worst thing, man, because that's going to be just the thing that you just keep on having, that anxiety. And I've been working on this a lot, to really like just do your best, take care of the things that really matter. And you will never get through your whole list of things that you want to do. So why beat yourself up for the shit that you just couldn't do anyway? So what it comes down to is like, love yourself. So I do love myself.
Lovely, man. Thank you, my brother.
Cheers.
It's beautiful, man. They've got questions coming, but man.
All right.
Thank you, my brother. All right. So how can people contact you? How do people get in touch with you?
Well, you can do Unstoppable Beard if they got a sexy beard and want it even unstoppable, or Unstoppable Family. We've had that website up forever, but between those two, Unstoppable Surfer on Instagram, that's where I really have my juju juice.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it, brother.
Yeah. And we have our Unstoppable Branding Agency.
And look, so now does anyone, Brother Itchy, do we have a microphone ready to go out to anybody? Yeah, we do. Great. So does anyone have a question that might be in their awareness, in their mind, in their heart, in their soul?
Let me feel.
Remember, guys, so it's a directional mic, right? So make sure you're directing straight into it.
Testing.
Look at you.
Good, straight up.
All right, so what's up? Have you made any changes to your perfect day since you did the first one? And if so, what were the last changes and why?
I was, and this is Fufu. This is Jabrilla's brother, which I love this dude so much. Thank you, Fufu. Oh, hearts right there. Look at that. I was very, for a perfect day, it was doing these things, but I never had a real structure to it. And now I have a thing that I have to check off every single, and I pretty much, I'm like, I have to do it before 11 a.m. before I can do everything else. So living that perfect day, still going out and surfing, still doing that, but having more structure. My wife, structure gives you freedom, and it's so much. Like, so that is where it's like really in the last year I've really implemented that, but it's still incorporating the the surfing and being with the family and friends and stuff. Yeah.
I'm going to do one thing which was not planned. None of this is planned anyway. Now, So I want you to give the mic to Sister Rhonda.
Sister.
Right? Sister Rhonda, right? So just come over and grab this mic, darling. Yeah.
She sit between us?
Or you can give it that way, whichever way. Yeah. Yeah, come on in.
All this rain and oh my God.
So everyone, this is Rhonda Swan from Unstoppable Family, Unstoppable Branding Agency, and she's an absolute gun. And we've got Hanalei over there as well, who's just hanging out. I might get you up in a second. Come over here, Hanalei. Actually, come over here. Yeah, this is a good time. Actually, this wasn't planned, but none of it's planned.
Super low couch.
I know. Just sit on the cushion. Sit on the cushion. Hanalei, come over here, honey.
Yeah, what's the deal?
Come sit.
13-year-old is
All right, there you go. We got everybody here now, nice and close. Nice and close to one. That's right. Skid you up. So this one's to Rhonda, right? What do you love about Brian?
You caught me on a good night. You know what I truly love about you is your pure honesty. Brian is willing to give up something good for him to create happiness or an environment for someone to have joy. And he literally will give up so much of himself or what he was doing just to create joy for someone else. And it's very honorable that you do that, because I know how much you care about others that you're around. And sometimes you give up even your own state or your own space that you might be standing in just to create a little bit more joy for other people.
Thank you.
Love it.
You're welcome.
Love it. So now we give the microphone to you, my brother.
Yeah.
What is it that you love about Rhonda?
And I write this. This is something I've been doing for the last 4 years. I have probably almost 5 years now. I have a gratitude journal that I write a message every single day on something that I appreciate about her, or something nice, fun, inspirational. Usually takes only about 2-3 minutes. And one of the things that I've been writing constantly is like, she inspires me, and she's taking a stand to be this better human, and it's raising the bar for me. And she's bold, and she doesn't stop. I still think there's like a robot inside of her that keeps her going. That she's a powerhouse woman. She inspires the hell out of me, because she does the work, and she's like she walks the walk, and she's a little love gooey inside that you don't see a lot of times, and I appreciate that.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. And Hanalei, your turn. Easy question for you, my darling. Easy question. So, you have some incredible parents here, and we've spoken before about things, right? So, if I ask you the same question, like, what is it that you love about them? What comes up for you?
What I really love about you guys is that what I love is that you guys care, and you guys truly just give your heart for other people in our life. And I feel like, Mom, you've adopted so many people. You have way more children than you actually think. Not biological, hopefully. But you have such an open heart to literally take anyone in. And I've grown up, I've Jabril, Fu, so many people here, and even virtually right now, who I have so many uncles, so many cousins, so many people who just have been taken into our home. And even though I'm an only child, I have a huge family, and it's not even biological, because we've been able to travel and grow, and we've been able to make our own family. I've never had a family Thanksgiving or Christmas, or I've never had an actual one with my real family in the States, but we've been able to make that. And we've been able to find so much love and so much happiness in other people. And I love your open heart, and I love your just willingness to be able to let go of things that you love to make other people happy. And I love that you guys have been able to let me be myself in what I create, and just give me freedom to be who I am. And hopefully that can inspire some other parents to be able to let your kid, or just let them create the life that they want, and kind of just guide, not being a teacher, not being an instructor, but as a guide, as a family member, someone who shares love. So I want to say thank you guys. You guys are amazing. Love you guys.
Wow. Round of applause, guys. Mamma mia. Tearing up. Wow. You know, so look, what I'm going to do, so we're going to wrap up. So, but Brian, I'm going to leave the last one for you. So this means that I'm going to do a quick intro extra. Is that even a word? Who knows? But I'm going to do a quick extra for next week. And after that, I'm going to come back to you. And it's anything that comes up for you that you want to say. And it can be something that you've said already, or maybe something that you haven't said yet, or something that's just there waiting to be said, right? And then we're going to close the show on that, all right? So you've got about 30, 40 seconds, no pressure. So everybody is watching here. Firstly, thank you to our studio audience who's here. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. It adds to the energy and the vibe and the whole thing. Thank you so much, right? Now, those of you watching, so remember, every Monday, 7 p.m. we're here at Tropical Nomad. So thank you to Itchy. Now Bella's away tonight, but Itchy is just killing the game. Tropical Nomad, love you guys. Thank you so much. I love Itchy very much. Amazing guy. We're doing some other amazing things together that will come up soon, called Nomad Essentials. I think I just gave something away, Itchy. Sorry about that. Not really sorry at all. So that's one thing. The second thing is that next week we have an incredible guy. So now this is Ronnie Portel. Now Ronnie's an English guy, another POM, and Ronnie, with a guy called Reiki, has created an alternate civilization currency. It's called Seeds, of which I am an ambassador, full disclosure, and I think Ronnie's amazing, and Reiki amazing as well. And it's an incredible platform that hundreds of thousands of people are using already, but it hasn't been really launched to the public yet. And it's phenomenal what these guys have done and what they have achieved. So next week, I'm really looking forward to bringing that to you, because I think it's something that's fundamentally not only going to change the way that we live, but fundamentally offering us another opportunity, a different choice that we can make. Not for everybody, but it's so phenomenal and important that it's there, and that people like this exist to show us, to guide, like a lighthouse, right? To kind of shine a light on a different way. And as you were saying before, Brian, about not caring about what people think, but knowing that this is in your heart, what you have to do. And you just have to do it, you know. And quickly, didn't mean to say this, but Rhonda, right? So, make me cry. But Rhonda, like I met you along, and with Rhonda, you get this sense of a powerful woman who's just like who's just fire, right? And like what I've seen and felt with you, even though we haven't spoken that much in the last period of time, is this woman who we spoke about lineage tonight with you, Brian, and I get the super sense that you, Rhonda, are embracing that incredible American Indian lineage that you have, and I feel it and I see it more and more and more and more and more, and I love it. And I think it's so powerful, because you're bringing together, you know, that spiritual realm and the power of this realm together in a way that people can be inspired by, right? And that is throughout your family, actually. You know, Hanlei's got it, Brian's got it, you know, but you've got it in a different way that's uniquely you. And I just love being a part of that and seeing that from afar, but I know we're going to hang out more in 2021, so it's all good. So guys, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Brian. I'm going to thank you very much. I'll see you next week, 7 p.m. here at Tropical Nomad, and come in, be part of the audience, enjoy it for what it is, and have the conversations afterwards, which is, for me, where the real juice is who you meet, the network and the community of people behind this, who you get to talk about other things with, and things happen organically, and I love that. So Brother Brian, my man, honoring you and super proud and just thank you for being you, right? Unashamedly just being you, man. The guy that I've always loved, and many people will love now they've seen this as well. So super happy, and over to you, brother. Over to you.
Beautiful. No, thank you so much for having me and being able to share this to your audience and the people that are here. Love it. I think it really goes back to that expiration date. Like, if you knew without a shadow of a doubt you had 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, what are the things that you're going to be doing today? And if you think about that, and it's like start planning and doing it now versus tomorrow, it'll change your life. And we all have expiration dates. But if you knew when it was, what would you be doing today?
Love it. Thank you, my brother.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. See you next week, guys. Thank you. Bye for now.
Check this out. See how tall?
Yeah, I know. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
This is